The great hall stretched out like a metal ocean. Thousands of beings filled the seats that rose up toward the dark ceiling. Some had wings, others had tentacles, and many looked like nothing anyone on Earth had ever seen. This was the Galactic Council, and today they were talking about humans. Admiral Kethvar stood at the center of the room. His body was made of what looked like living crystal, and when he moved, light bounced off him in strange ways. He had been watching the humans for 2 years now, and he did not like what he saw. "Look at this," he said, and images appeared in the air above him. The pictures showed Earth's moon, but it was not the dead rock that most beings expected. Ships were coming out of it. Big ships. Warships. 3 months ago, we thought their moon was just a natural satellite, Kethvar continued. His voice echoed through the chamber. We were wrong. They built 17 dreadnought-class vessels inside it. 17. Most species take 1,000 years to build one ship like that. A creature that looked like a giant insect clicked its mandibles together. How is this possible? Our records show they only discovered radio waves 200 years ago. That is exactly the problem, Kethvar replied. They are advancing too fast, much too fast. Every law of civilization development says this should be impossible. In the seats around the chamber, representatives whispered to each other. Some had multiple heads, and they argued among themselves. Others communicated through flashing lights or chemical smells that filled the air with strange odors. Captain Zix sat in the upper section, her blue skin darker than usual. She had spent more time watching humans than anyone else in the room. While others saw only weapons and danger, she had seen something else. She had listened to their music and watched their art. She had seen them help each other during disasters and create beautiful things for no reason except joy. Perhaps we should study them more, she said, standing up. Her voice was gentle like water flowing over stones. They are unusual, yes, but they are also remarkable. Their creativity exceeds anything we have recorded. Creativity. Kethvar's crystal body flashed red with anger. They turned their moon into a weapons factory. They have quantum torpedoes now. Quantum torpedoes. It took my people 10,000 years to develop that technology. Another voice joined the debate. This one came from Ambassador Thresh, whose species looked like walking trees. The humans have made contact with 16 different alien species in the past year. Each time they offered trade and friendship first, they have not attacked anyone. Yet, Kethvar said, the word hanging in the air like a threat. But look at their military buildup. Look at their expansion rate. They have colonies on 4 planets now, and more ships are launching every day. The debate went on for hours. Some species supported the humans, fascinated by their rapid development. Others feared them, worried that such fast growth could only lead to conquest and war. The chamber filled with the sounds of 1,000 different languages as beings argued in their native tongues. Finally, the council leader called for order. She was ancient, older than most civilizations, and her word was law. Her species had no name that other beings could pronounce, so everyone simply called them the Eternals. We will vote, she announced. Her voice seemed to come from everywhere, at once. The question is simple: do we activate the extinction protocol against the human species? A chill ran through the chamber. The extinction protocol had only been used twice in galactic history. Both times, entire species had been wiped out in minutes. It was the Council's final solution for threats too dangerous to contain. The voting began. Each species had 1 vote, no matter how large or small their population. Red lights appeared above some seats, blue lights above others. Red meant yes, activate the protocol. Blue meant no, let the humans live. Captain Zix voted blue without hesitation. She thought about the human music she had recorded, the way their voices could convey such emotion. She thought about their children playing in parks while their parents worked to build a better future. Admiral Kethvar voted red, his crystal body pulsing with determination. To him, the humans were a disease that would spread across the galaxy if not stopped immediately. The counting took an hour. When it finished, the numbers appeared in the air for all to see. 438 votes for extinction, 409 votes against. The motion passes, the council leader announced. The extinction protocol is now active. Target, Sol system. Primary species, human. Estimated time to completion, 4 hours. Deep beneath the chamber, ancient machines began to wake up. They had slept for 1,000 years waiting for this moment. Quantum torpedoes, each one capable of destroying a planet, moved into launch position. The targeting computers locked onto the Sol system, 8 light-years away. Captain Zix felt sick. She had tried to save them, but it was not enough. In 4 hours, Earth would be nothing but floating debris. All those voices, all that music, all that potential, gone forever. The torpedoes launched in perfect formation. They moved through space faster than light itself, bending reality around them as they traveled. Nothing could stop them now. Nothing could change course once they were fired. 4 hours later, alarms began screaming throughout the council station. The torpedo operators stared at their screens in confusion. Their targeting computers showed empty space where Earth should have been. The entire Sol system appeared to be gone. Impossible, Cathvar whispered, his crystal body flickering between colors. Planets do not just disappear. Sir, one of the technicians called out, her voice shaking. We are detecting massive quantum signatures throughout the galaxy, thousands of them. They are appearing everywhere. On the main screen, dots of light began appearing on the galactic map. 1 dot became 10, then 100, then 1,000. Each dot represented a quantum signature large enough to indicate major industrial activity. What are we looking at? The council leader asked. The technician's hands shook as she worked her controls. I think we are looking at the humans. All of them. They are not gone. They are everywhere. Captain Zix stood up slowly, understanding beginning to dawn on her. They knew, she said quietly. Somehow they knew we were watching. They knew what we would decide. That is impossible, Cathvar protested, but his voice lacked its earlier confidence. No species can predict council decisions. No species can move entire populations in secret. No species we knew about, Captain Zix corrected, but we were wrong about humans from the beginning. We thought they were just another young species. We thought we understood them. The dots on the galactic map continued to multiply. In systems that had been empty for millions of years, human settlements were appearing. Industrial complexes, cities, entire ecosystems, all materializing as if they had always been there. How many? The council leader asked. Current count is over 10,000 confirmed human settlements, the technician reported, and the number is still growing. The chamber fell silent except for the sound of alien breathing and the clicking of various appendages. Every being in the room was trying to understand what they were seeing. We hit the button, Admiral Cathvar said slowly, but we hit it too late. They were already gone before we even started voting. Captain Zix nodded, a sad smile on her blue face. The humans did not just escape. They planned this, all of it. They wanted us to find their moon weapons. They wanted us to feel threatened. They wanted us to vote for extinction. But why? Someone asked from the crowd. Because, Captain Zix said, her voice filled with something that might have been admiration. They needed an excuse to leave, and now they have the entire galaxy to themselves. Dr. Sarah Chen had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes burned as she stared at the computer screen, but she could not look away. The numbers were too important, too terrifying to ignore. Show me the pattern again, she said to her assistant, Marcus. He was young, barely out of graduate school, but he had spotted something that older scientists had missed. Here, Marcus said, pointing at the screen. These quantum fluctuations in the background radiation. At first we thought they were natural. Random noise from space, but look at this. The screen filled with wave patterns that looked like mountains and valleys made of light. Most of them were chaotic, random, like static on an old television, but some were different. Some had patterns that repeated every few seconds. Someone is watching us, Sarah whispered. The words felt heavy in her mouth. These signals are artificial. They have to be. Marcus nodded, his face pale. I ran the analysis 12 times. There is no doubt. Someone out there has been monitoring Earth for at least 2 years, maybe longer. Sarah picked up her phone and dialed a number she hoped she would never have to use. It connected after one ring. "This is Dr. Chen at CERN. I need to speak to the director immediately. We have a code. Black situation." Within hours, the most powerful people on Earth were sitting in a conference room deep underground. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists all stared at the same data that had kept Sarah awake for 3 days. "How long do we have?" asked President Morrison, her face tight with worry. "Based on the signal patterns, I would estimate weeks," Sarah replied. "Maybe a month at most. The watchers are becoming more active, more aggressive in their monitoring." General Thompson, a man who had fought in 3 wars, looked sick. "Can we fight them?" "Fight what?" Sarah asked. "We do not even know what they look like. We do not know where they are. All we know is that they have technology far beyond anything we have ever imagined." "So what do you suggest?" asked the Chinese premier, his voice calm despite the circumstances. "Doctor." Rebecca Hayes from the Space Defense Initiative stood up. She had been quiet during most of the meeting, but now she looked determined. "We have been working on something. Project Quantum Gate. It was supposed to be a communication system, a way to send messages instantly across the galaxy." "But," prompted the Russian president, "but our tests suggest it might be able to transport matter as well. Not just messages, but actual objects, maybe even people." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud. Finally, President Morrison spoke. "You are talking about evacuation, complete evacuation." "Not just evacuation," Rebecca said. "Relocation. We could move our entire civilization to dozens of different star systems, spread humanity across the galaxy." "How?" asked the Japanese Prime Minister. "We have 8 billion people on this planet. Even our largest spaceships can only carry a few thousand." Rebecca smiled for the first time in the meeting. "We do not use spaceships. We use the quantum gates. We can transport millions of people in hours, not years." "That is impossible," General Thompson said. "The energy requirements alone would be massive. Not if we tap into the quantum vacuum," Sarah interjected. She was beginning to understand what Rebecca was suggesting. "We could use the same technology the Watchers are using to spy on us, turn their own methods against them." The French president leaned forward. "Even if this is possible, where would we go? We cannot just appear in random star systems. We need planets that can support human life." "We have been mapping suitable worlds for decades," Rebecca replied. "The Kepler mission, the James Webb Telescope, all of our space observation projects. We know where the habitable planets are." "But how do we choose?" asked the German chancellor. "How do we decide who goes where?" "We do not choose," President Morrison said slowly. "We prepare for everything. Multiple colonies, multiple backup plans. If this quantum gate technology works, we can evacuate everyone." Dr. Hayes pulled up a holographic display that filled the center of the room. It showed the galaxy with thousands of tiny blue dots scattered throughout the spiral arms. "Each dot represents a potential colony site," she explained. "Planets with the right temperature, the right atmosphere, the right resources to support human civilization." "How many colonies are you proposing?" asked the Indian Prime Minister. 10,000, Rebecca said simply. "Maybe more. We spread humanity so far across the galaxy that no single attack could ever destroy us all." The room erupted in whispers and shocked murmurs. 10,000 colonies meant dividing humanity into groups of less than 1 million people each. It meant the end of Earth, as humanity's only home. "What about our culture?" asked the Brazilian president. "Our history, our art, our knowledge. How do we preserve all of that?" Sarah had been thinking about this problem for hours. "We copy everything. Every book, every song, every piece of art. We create digital archives and send copies to every colony. But more than that, we transport actual pieces of human civilization." "What do you mean?" asked President Morrison. "Museums, libraries, even entire ecosystems. If the quantum gates can transport people, they can transport anything. We take the Louvre, the Smithsonian, the Library of Congress. We take samples of every plant and animal species on Earth. And the people," asked the Chinese premier. Who decides who goes to which colony? Volunteers first, Rebecca said. People choose their own destinations based on their skills and interests. Scientists go to colonies that need research facilities. Farmers go to agricultural worlds. Artists go to places where they can preserve and create culture. And the rest? Random distribution, President Morrison said firmly. No favorites, no special treatment. Rich or poor, powerful or ordinary. Everyone gets an equal chance at survival. General Thompson looked skeptical. This is the largest undertaking in human history. How do we keep it secret? The Watchers will notice if we start building massive evacuation facilities. We do not build them, Sarah said. We hide them. The quantum gate technology is based on theoretical physics that most people cannot understand. We disguise the construction as normal scientific research. Underground facilities, Rebecca added. Deep mines, ocean floor installations even, space-based platforms hidden behind the moon. We spread the construction across 100 different projects so no single facility looks threatening. How long? Asked the French president. How long to build this evacuation system? Rebecca and Sarah exchanged glances. They had been working on the calculations all morning. 3 months, Sarah said. Maybe 4 if we encounter unexpected problems, but we need to start immediately. Every day we wait increases the chance that the Watchers will decide we are too dangerous to live. President Morrison stood up, her decision made. Operation Seedfall is now active. Every nation, every organization, every resource on Earth is now dedicated to one goal, the survival of humanity. What about Earth itself? Asked the German Chancellor. Do we just abandon it? No, Sarah said quietly. We leave it exactly as it is. Cities, traffic, television broadcasts, everything. We use artificial intelligence to maintain the illusion of normal human activity. If the Watchers decide to destroy us, they will think they succeeded. But Earth will be empty? Empty of people, Rebecca confirmed, but full of automated systems designed to fool any observers into thinking nothing has changed. As the meeting broke up, world leaders began making phone calls that would change the course of human history. In secret facilities around the world, scientists and engineers started working on projects they could not fully understand. They built machines that bent space and time, devices that could move mountains from one star to another, and high above Earth, alien Watchers continued their surveillance, completely unaware that their targets were already planning to disappear. The humans had learned they were being watched, and instead of panicking, they had chosen to become ghosts. 3 months later, when the Galactic Council finally decided that humanity was too dangerous to live, their quantum torpedoes would find only an empty planet. The people would be gone, scattered across 10,000 worlds, ready to begin the next chapter of human civilization among the stars. Captain Zix floated in her observation chamber, her blue skin shimmering as she listened to human music through her translation device. The sounds that came from Earth were unlike anything in the galactic archives, where other species created music based on mathematical formulas or religious ceremonies. Humans seemed to pour their emotions directly into sound waves. She had been watching Earth for 2 years now, longer than any other member of the monitoring fleet. Her job was simple: observe and report. But somewhere along the way it had become something more personal. Captain, her communications officer called out, we are receiving another data burst from the surface. What kind of data? Zix asked, though she already suspected the answer. Music again, Captain, and something they call poetry, also visual, art files. Zix smiled, her gill slits fluttering with amusement. The humans are still broadcasting their culture to the stars. They know someone is listening. It had taken her months to understand what the humans were doing. While most species, when they discovered they were being watched, either tried to hide or prepared for war, the humans had done something unexpected. They had started sharing. Every day, new transmissions left Earth. Not military communications or technical data, but art. Songs, poems, stories, paintings, and dance performances. It was as if the humans wanted their watchers to understand them, not just observe them. Play the latest music file, Zix requested. the chamber filled with the sound of human voices singing in harmony. The translation device provided meaning for the words, but Zix had learned that human music was about more than just words. It was about emotion, about feelings that seemed to resonate across species barriers. This particular song was about longing, about missing someone who was far away. As Zix listened, she felt something stir in her own chest, a sensation her people called heart echo. It was rare for alien art to affect them so deeply. "Captain," her science officer interrupted, "I am detecting unusual quantum fluctuations from the Earth system." Zix turned away from the music reluctantly. "What kind of fluctuations?" "Large-scale, quantum tunneling events. They appear to be artificial, but the technology involved is beyond our current understanding." "Show me," Zix ordered. The main display filled with sensor data from the Sol system. Earth looked normal from a distance, but the quantum readings told a different story. Energy signatures were appearing and disappearing across the planet's surface, in patterns that made no sense. "Are they building weapons?" Zix asked, though the readings did not match any known weapon signatures. "Unknown, Captain. The energy patterns are consistent with matter transportation, but on a massive scale, far larger than anything in our databases." Zix frowned, her gill slits closing with worry. She had been sending regular reports to the Galactic Council, always, recommending continued observation rather than intervention. The humans were developing quickly, yes, but they had shown no aggressive intentions toward other species. "Captain," the communications officer spoke up again, "we are receiving a direct transmission from Earth. It is addressed to you personally." "To me?" Zix was surprised. The humans had never attempted direct contact before. "Play it." The voice that came through the speakers was female, speaking in the English language that Zix had learned to understand during her time watching Earth. "Hello, Captain Zix. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. We know you have been watching us, and we want you to know that we appreciate your careful observations. We also know that others among your people see us as a threat. We hope this message will help you understand that we mean no harm to anyone." Zix felt her heart rate increase. How did the humans know her name? How did they know she had been advocating for them in her reports? The human voice continued. "We know that some members of your council want to destroy us. We understand their fear. We have grown quickly, perhaps too quickly for comfort. But we want you to know that we have never forgotten that the universe is large enough for all of us." "Captain," her science officer whispered, "the quantum fluctuations are increasing. Something big is happening down there. We are sharing this message with you because we respect you, Captain Zix. Your reports have shown understanding and wisdom. We hope that when the time comes you will remember that we tried to communicate, that we tried to show you who we really are through our art and our culture." The message ended, leaving the observation chamber in silence. Zix stared at the blue planet below, her mind racing. The humans knew about the council. They knew about the debates. They even knew about her personal reports. "How is this possible?" she whispered to herself. "Captain," her tactical officer called out urgently, "I am detecting council fleet movements. Multiple squadrons are moving toward the galactic core." Zix felt cold fear wash over her. Council fleet movements meant only one thing: a vote was being called. And based on the increase in anti-human sentiment she had been seeing in official communications, she could guess what that vote would be about. "Send an immediate message to Council Command," she ordered. "Request permission to address the Council, directly regarding the human situation. Message sent, Captain, but we are receiving new orders. All monitoring vessels are to maintain distance and prepare for possible evacuation of the Sol system." Zix closed her eyes, her worst fears confirmed. The Council was going to vote on the extinction protocol. She had seen the signs building for weeks. Increased military rhetoric, fear-mongering reports from other species, and growing pressure to solve the human problem once and for all. "Captain," her communications officer said softly, "there is more to the human message." "Play it," Dr. Chen's voice returned, but this time it sounded sadder, more resigned. "If you are hearing this second part of our message, it means the Council has already made its decision. We want you to know that we do not blame you, Captain Zix. You tried to protect us, and we will remember that. We also want you to know that we have prepared for this possibility. We have learned much about quantum physics by studying your own monitoring technology. We know how to hide, how to scatter, how to survive. If your people decide we are too dangerous to live on Earth, we will find other places to call home. Zix felt her hearts breaking. The humans had known this was coming. They had been preparing not just for contact, but for war. But most importantly, we want you to understand that this does not end our friendship. Someday, when the fear has passed and wisdom has returned to the galaxy, we hope to meet you properly. We hope to share our music with you in person, to learn about your culture as you have learned about ours. The quantum fluctuations around Earth suddenly spiked to levels that made the ship's sensors scream warnings. On the main display, energy readings showed massive transportation events occurring across the planet's surface. "Captain," her science officer shouted over the alarm sounds, "the entire human population is disappearing. I am reading massive quantum tunnel formations opening across the planet." "Until that day comes," Dr. Chen's message continued, "please remember us as we were. Not as a threat to be destroyed, but as a young species trying to find its place in the universe. Remember our music, our stories, our dreams of peaceful contact with the stars. The quantum signatures are spreading across the galaxy," the tactical officer reported. "Thousands of them. They are appearing in star systems we have never even explored. Thank you for watching over us, Captain Zix. Thank you for trying to understand. And thank you for giving us the time we needed to become something more than just another extinct species in the Council's files." The message ended just as alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Long-range sensors were detecting the launch of Council quantum torpedoes, racing toward Earth at faster-than-light speeds. "Time to impact?" Zix asked, though she already knew it was too late. 4 minutes, Captain." Zix watched the sensor displays as the torpedoes approached Earth. The planet looked peaceful from space, its blue oceans and white clouds hiding the fact that every human being had vanished just minutes earlier. The weapon struck with devastating force, turning Earth's surface into molten rock and vapor. The planet that had produced such beautiful music, such amazing art, was gone in seconds. But the quantum signatures across the galaxy were multiplying. The humans had not just evacuated Earth, they had scattered themselves across thousands of worlds, taking their civilization with them. "Captain," her communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving transmissions from human settlements across the galaxy. They are all playing the same thing." "What?" "Music, Captain. They are broadcasting human music from every new colony simultaneously." Zix closed her eyes and listened as human voices filled the void where Earth had been. Hundreds of songs, thousands of voices, all singing of hope and survival, and the dream of peace among the stars. The Council had hit the button to destroy humanity, but they had hit it too late. The humans were already gone, already spreading across the galaxy like seeds on the cosmic wind, and somewhere among those distant stars they were still making music. The first thing Maria Santos saw when she stepped through the quantum gate was 2 suns hanging in an alien sky. One was yellow like Earth's sun, but smaller. The other was red and huge, taking up what looked like half the horizon. Between them, strange purple light painted the landscape in colors she had never imagined. "Welcome to Kepler 442b, announced Dr. Williams, the colony coordinator. "Your new home." Maria clutched her daughter's hand tighter as hundreds of other families emerged from the shimmering gate behind them. Everyone looked confused and frightened, but also amazed. They had left Earth only minutes ago, but now they stood on a world 37 light-years away. "Mom, look!" Sophia pointed at the sky where 3 moons hung like silver coins. "Are those all moons?" "Yes, sweetheart," Maria said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Everything is different here, but we are safe." Around them, the new Geneva colony was already taking shape. Massive construction robots had been working for weeks, building the basic infrastructure they would need to survive. Power plants, water treatment facilities, communication arrays, and housing blocks stretched out across the valley they had chosen for their settlement. "How many people will live here?" asked an older man standing near them. 10,000 in this colony, Dr. Williams replied. But we are just one of hundreds of settlements being established simultaneously across the galaxy. Maria had volunteered for Kepler 442b because it was listed as a family-friendly world. The gravity was only slightly stronger than Earth's, the atmosphere was breathable with minimal treatment, and the planet had large oceans full of life. It was supposed to be one of the easier places for humans to adapt. But easy was relative when you were starting a civilization from scratch. What about food? Someone called out from the crowd. Already handled, Dr. Williams said, gesturing toward large dome structures in the distance. Agricultural domes with earth soil and earth crops. We have enough food supplies to last 2 years while we establish permanent farming. And if the council finds us, Dr. Williams paused before answering. They will not find us. The quantum gate technology creates a kind of static in spacetime. From the outside, this planet will look empty and lifeless. We are invisible unless we choose not to be. Maria felt a chill despite the warm alien sunlight. The idea that they were hiding from beings powerful enough to destroy planets was terrifying, but the alternative had been certain death. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on thousands of worlds. On Gliese 667cc, engineers were setting up the solar manufacturing complex in the red light of 3 stars. The planet had no atmosphere humans could breathe, but it had unlimited solar energy and rich mineral deposits perfect for building spacecraft. Commander Jackson watched as automated factories began producing quantum drive components at a rate that would have been impossible on Earth. Here, with no environmental regulations to worry about and unlimited space to expand, human industry was growing at an exponential pace. Production report, he called to his chief engineer. First batch of quantum drives completed, she replied, checking her tablet. 12 units, each capable of faster-than-light travel. Next batch will be ready in 6 hours. 6 hours? Jackson was amazed. On Earth, building one quantum drive took months. How is that possible? No regulations, unlimited resources, and technology we acquired from studying the Council's monitoring systems, the engineer explained. Plus, we designed these factories specifically for rapid production. Every component is optimized for speed. Meanwhile, on Ross 128b, Dr. Rebecca Hayes was setting up the most important facility of all, the Quantum Communication Network. This planet was hidden deep in the shadow of a red dwarf star, making it nearly impossible to detect from outside. The system, network status? She asked her team. All primary nodes are online, reported her assistant. We have real-time communication with 847 human colonies and counting. Rebecca smiled. The quantum entanglement network was perhaps humanity's greatest achievement. Using principles they had learned from reverse engineering alien technology, they had created a communication system that worked instantly across any distance. No matter how far apart the human colonies spread, they would remain connected. Any word from Earth? She asked. The AI systems are performing perfectly, her assistant replied. From the outside, Earth appears to have normal human activity. Television broadcasts, internet traffic, even simulated social media posts. If the Council is still monitoring, they should see nothing unusual. But the most remarkable transformation was happening on Proxima Centauri b, where humanity's most ambitious project was taking shape. Dr. Michael Chen, Sarah's husband, watched as construction crews worked around the clock to build something that had never existed before, a completely mobile space habitat. How long until the city can move? He asked the chief architect. 3 months, she replied. Once the quantum drives are integrated, New Atlantis will be able to relocate anywhere in the galaxy within hours. The mobile city was a marvel of human engineering. Built on and around a large asteroid, it could house 50,000 people and move between star systems at will. If any colony was discovered or threatened, its entire population could evacuate to the mobile cities and disappear again. But perhaps the most important development was happening in the minds of the colonists themselves. Freed from the limitations of a single planet, human creativity was exploding in new directions. On Tau Ceti E, artists were creating sculptures that used the planet's low gravity to achieve impossible shapes. On Wolf 1061c, Musicians were composing symphonies that incorporated the sounds of alien weather patterns. On Kepler 186f, writers were crafting stories inspired by landscapes that no human had ever imagined. "We are not just surviving," Maria wrote in her journal 3 months after arriving on Kepler 442b. "We are thriving. Sophia has learned to speak 2 alien languages that we decoded from radio signals. The sunset here lasts for 3 hours because of the 2 suns, and every evening she makes up new stories about the purple light. But more than that, we are becoming something new. Not just humans who live on different planets, but a true galactic civilization. We are learning to think on a scale that includes thousands of worlds, millions of star systems, unlimited possibilities." In the Galactic Council chambers, Admiral Kethvar was receiving reports that made no sense. His scouts had confirmed the existence of human settlements, but the numbers were impossible. "How many colonies have we detected?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Current count is 2,847 confirmed settlements," the officer replied, her voice shaking. "But sir, that number is increasing every day. They appear to be establishing new colonies faster than we can find them." "That is impossible," Kethvar insisted. "No species can expand that quickly. It violates every known law of galactic colonization." "With respect, sir, the humans appear to have developed technology that makes our previous assumptions obsolete. They are not using conventional spacecraft for colonization. They are using some form of instantaneous transportation." Kethvar's crystal body flickered with frustrated red light. "What about their industrial capacity? They cannot possibly be supporting thousands of colonies." "Actually, sir, their industrial output appears to be increasing exponentially. We have detected manufacturing facilities that are producing ships and equipment at rates far exceeding anything in our databases." "Show me," Kethvar demanded. The holographic display filled with sensor data from across the galaxy. Everywhere human colonies existed, they were building, growing, expanding. But most disturbing of all, they were communicating. Real-time communications, across thousands of light-years, coordinating their expansion with precision that suggested central planning on a galactic scale. "They are not just running away," Kethvar realized with growing horror. "They are building an empire." "Sir," his tactical advisor spoke up nervously, "there is something else. We have detected quantum signatures consistent with mobile space. Habitats. Large ones capable of housing entire populations." "Mobile habitats?" "Yes, sir. If we attack any of their colonies, they can evacuate the entire population in minutes and relocate anywhere in the galaxy. We would be fighting an enemy that cannot be pinned down." Kethvar stared at the galactic map, watching as new human settlements appeared like stars being born. Each dot represented thousands of humans, spreading their influence, their technology, their impossible creativity across the galaxy. "Send a message to the Council," he said finally. "Tell them we have a problem. A big problem." But in her quarters on the monitoring ship, Captain Zix was listening to new music from the human colonies. Each world had developed its own style, its own voice, but they all carried the same message of hope and determination. The humans had not just survived the Council's attack, they had used it as an opportunity to become something greater than anyone had imagined possible. They had become the galaxy's first truly post-planetary civilization, and they were just getting started. 1 year after Earth died, the impossible happened. The quantum sensors at Galactic Council headquarters detected something that made every technician check their equipment twice. A massive object was appearing at the exact coordinates where Earth used to orbit the Sun. Admiral Kethvar rushed to the observation deck, his crystal body flashing between confusion and alarm. Through the viewport, he could see it materializing like a ghost becoming solid. It was Earth, complete in every detail, but something was fundamentally wrong with it. "Sensor analysis," he demanded. "Sir, it is definitely Earth," his science officer reported, her voice barely a whisper. "Same continent, same ocean, same cities. But it is phase shifting between multiple dimensional states. Sometimes it is solid matter. Sometimes it exists as pure energy. Sometimes it appears to be in several locations at once. That is impossible, Kathvar said. But even as he spoke, he could see the planet flickering in and out of normal space-time, like a candle flame in the wind. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the surface. It is coming from all major cities simultaneously. Play it. The voice that came through the communication system was calm, pleasant, and utterly human. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council. This is Ambassador Sarah Chen, speaking on behalf of the Human Collective. We have prepared a meeting space for discussions regarding our species' role in galactic affairs. Please send a delegation to the coordinates we are transmitting. Kathvar felt his interior temperature drop several degrees. Sarah Chen had been confirmed dead in the orbital bombardment. The surveillance footage clearly showed her in Geneva when the quantum torpedoes struck. Yet here she was, speaking from a planet that should not exist. Should we respond? Asked his communications officer. Before Kathvar could answer, another voice came through the channel. This one belonged to Captain Zix. Council Command, this is Monitoring Vessel 7. I request permission to join the delegation. I have extensive knowledge of human culture and behavior. Permission granted, came the reply from Council headquarters. Admiral Kathvar, you will lead a diplomatic team to investigate this situation. Exercise extreme caution. 3 hours later, a small Council shuttle approached the impossible Earth. As they got closer, the phase shifting became more apparent. Sometimes the planet looked normal. Other times it appeared to be made of crystalline energy. Occasionally, it seemed to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, as if reality itself could not decide where Earth belonged. Landing coordinates received, announced the pilot. They want us to land in what used to be New York City. The shuttle descended, through an atmosphere that registered as completely normal on their sensors. But when they broke through the clouds, Kathvar saw something that made his crystalline structure resonate with shock. The city below was New York, but it was also not New York. The buildings were the same, but they seemed to be constructed from materials that shifted between solid matter and pure light. People walked the streets, but they moved with a fluid grace that suggested they were not entirely bound by normal physics. Sir, the pilot called out nervously, I am reading human life signs throughout the city, millions of them, but their quantum signatures are unusual. The shuttle landed in Central Park, which looked exactly as it had before Earth's destruction. Trees, grass, benches, even the same joggers following their familiar paths. But everything had an otherworldly quality, as if it existed in several dimensions at once. A delegation of humans was waiting for them. At the center of the group stood Dr. Sarah Chen, looking exactly as she had in the surveillance footage from a year ago. But her eyes held knowledge that seemed to encompass entire universes. Welcome to Earth, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that Kathvar had never heard before. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Captain Zix stepped forward, her blue skin pale with amazement. Dr. Chen, we saw you die. We watched Earth burn. Sarah smiled, an expression both sad and infinitely patient. You saw one version of Earth burn, one timeline among many, but we have learned to exist across multiple realities simultaneously. Death, as you understand it, is no longer a limitation for us. That is impossible, Kathvar protested, his crystal body flashing red with denial. No species can transcend dimensional barriers. No species could, Sarah agreed, until someone forced us to evolve beyond normal space-time. Your attack did not destroy us, Admiral. It transformed us. She gestured to the city around them. This Earth exists in approximately 10,000 parallel timelines simultaneously. In some of those timelines, your attack never happened. In others, we evacuated before it began. In still others, we learned to phase shift matter between dimensions, to avoid the quantum torpedoes. But you are here now, Captain Zix observed. Talking to us. That suggests you exist in our timeline as well. We exist in all timelines, Sarah replied. That is what you helped us become. When faced with extinction, we did not just run away to other planets. We learned to run away to other realities. Now we can be anywhere, anytime, in any version of the universe we choose. Kethavar felt something that might have been fear. What do you want from us? To talk, Sarah said simply. To understand why you felt threatened by us. To see if we can find a way to coexist peacefully. You have become something beyond our ability to control or destroy, Kethavar accused. How can we trust you? Sarah's smile became warmer, more genuinely human. Because we still remember what it was like to be small and frightened and alone in the universe. We still remember the music Captain Zix listened to, the art she appreciated, the hope she had for peaceful contact between our species. Captain, Zix started in surprise. You know about that? We know about everything, Sarah replied. In the timelines where we survived and thrived, we learned to observe the observers. We know about every debate in the council chambers, every vote, every decision that led to your attack on Earth. Then you know why we felt threatened, Kethavar said defensively. Your expansion rate, your military development, your technological advancement, it was unprecedented. Yes, Sarah agreed, and we understand your fear. But look around you, Admiral. Look at what we became when that fear drove you to try to destroy us. She gestured to the city again, and suddenly Kethavar could see more than just the surface. His enhanced vision picked up layers of reality stacked on top of each other like infinite sheets of glass. In each layer, Earth existed in a different state. Sometimes peaceful, sometimes at war, sometimes empty, sometimes teeming with life. You feared we would become a galactic empire, Sarah continued. Instead, you forced us to become something that transcends the very concept of empire. We are not conquerors anymore, Admiral. We are gardeners, tending to infinite versions of reality. What does that mean for the rest of us? Captain Zix asked. It means we can help, Sarah said. We have access to technologies, knowledge, and possibilities that exist across multiple timelines. We can share solutions to problems your species have struggled with for millennia. She pulled out a device that looked like crystalline flour. When she activated it, holographic images filled the air around them. Images of alien worlds being healed of environmental damage. Images of diseases being cured with treatments that existed only in parallel timelines. Images of conflicts being resolved through understanding that came from seeing all possible outcomes simultaneously. We offer partnership, Sarah said. Not conquest, not submission, but cooperation between equals who have learned to exist in different ways. And if we refuse? Kethavar asked. Sarah's expression became infinitely sad. Then we leave you alone as you clearly wish. We retreat to our own timelines and realities, and our species will have no further contact. But that would be a loss. For everyone, Admiral. We have so much to learn from each other. How do we know you will not use your abilities against us? Kethavar demanded. Because, Sarah said softly, we remember being where you are now. Afraid, uncertain, facing something beyond our understanding. We remember what it felt like to be threatened with extinction simply for existing. She stepped closer to Kethavar, her presence somehow calming despite the impossible nature of what she represented. We do not want revenge, Admiral. We want understanding. We want to build a galaxy where no species ever again faces the choice between hiding or dying. Captain Zix looked around at the impossible city, at the humans who existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, at the future that fear had accidentally created. The Council will need time to consider this, she said finally. Of course, Sarah agreed. But remember this, you tried to destroy us because you feared what we might become. Instead, you helped us become something that could have existed no other way. The button you hit was not too late to stop us. It was perfectly timed to transform us into something that could help all of us. As the Council delegation prepared to leave, Sarah called out one more time. Captain Zix, thank you for listening to our music. In every timeline, in every reality, your appreciation for our culture was the first step toward this moment. Zix turned back, her gill slits fluttering with emotion. Will we see you again? We are always here, Sarah replied, her form beginning to fade as Earth phase shifted back into multiple realities. Whenever you are ready to listen, we will be waiting.
John Miller stood tall in front of the huge round table where 50 alien leaders sat watching him. The room was silent. Every eye, stalk, and sensing organ focused on the human ambassador. After careful thought, Earth has decided to leave the Galactic Council, John said. His voice was firm. He did not shake or show fear. The aliens began to whisper to each other. Some made clicking sounds. Others hissed. A few laughed. Extelor, the blue-skinned Zagonian who led the council, waved a long hand for quiet. Ambassador Miller, is this some kind of joke? Humans cannot simply leave. We can, and we are, John replied. For 30 years, you have called on us when you had problems to solve. When the Draconians and Feluvians almost went to war, humans fixed it. When the star near HFY began to die, humans found a way to save the planets there. But when we asked for help last month after the asteroid hit our Pacific Ocean, you all voted no. That was a minor event, Exteller said with a wave of his hand. 3 million people died, John said, his voice getting louder. And the council sent no aid ships, no medicine, nothing. But last week, you all voted to spend 10 times that amount of money on a vacation spot on Centauri Prime. Many aliens looked away, not meeting John's eyes. Humans are done being used, John continued. We joined this council as equals, but you treat us like tools. Tools you only pick up when something breaks. We deserve better. John placed his council badge on the table. The small metal pin made a loud sound in the quiet room. He turned and walked out. Behind him, the aliens began to yell and argue. Outside the Grand Council building, John got into a small ship. His assistant, Maria Lee, waited for him. How did they take it? She asked. About like we thought they would, John said with a sigh. They didn't believe it at first. Then they got angry. Did anyone try to change your mind? No. John stared out the window at the beautiful alien city. Tall towers of crystal and metal stretched to the sky. They still think we'll come back. Exteller basically said we'll come crawling back the next time Earth has a problem. The ship lifted off, heading for the space station where the big Earth ships waited. Back in the council room, the aliens were still arguing. Exteller banged his fist on the table 3 times. Enough, he shouted. Let the humans go. They will learn they need us more than we need them. I'm not so sure, said Mira, a small green alien with 6 eyes. Humans solve many problems for us. We solved our own problems for thousands of years before humans joined us. Exteller said, we will be fine without them. 2 weeks later, on Earth, President Samantha Wright stood in front of the United Nations. Hundreds of human leaders from all countries listened as she explained the decision. For too long, we have been the janitors of the galaxy, she said, called in to clean up messes, then sent away until the next crisis. No more. Today, we start a new path. Earth will stand on its own. People stood and clapped. The speech was shown on screens around the world. Most humans agreed it was time to focus on Earth first. At space stations all across the galaxy, human ships began to leave their posts. Thousands of human workers, engineers, doctors, and soldiers packed their things and headed home. As they left, small problems began to appear. A communication system on Rigel IV stopped working. The water system on Novelian Colony 7 began to leak. A trade deal between the Draconians and Mercantians fell apart over a simple misunderstanding. Small problems, hardly worth noticing. But they were just the beginning. In his private room, Exteller received the first reports of these issues. He deleted them without reading them fully. Let the humans go, he muttered to himself. The galaxy will be better without them. He could not have been more wrong. 6 months had passed since humans left the Galactic Council. At first, most aliens hardly noticed. Life went on. Ships flew between worlds. Trade continued. But then bigger problems began to appear. Alan Parker stood in the main control room of the Quantum Transit Network hub on Centauri Prime. Red warning lights flashed all around him. Alarms sounded. Hundreds of aliens rushed around in panic. "The whole system is failing," said Administrator Grell, a tall insect-like alien. His 6 arms moved quickly over the control panel. "Stations across 10 sectors are going dark." Alan sighed. He was one of the few humans who had stayed behind after Earth left the Council. As chief engineer of the transit network, he couldn't abandon his post. Too many lives depended on the system working properly. "I warned you this would happen," Alan said. "The maintenance schedule I created was ignored for months." "Your human methods were too complex." Grell clicked his mandibles in frustration. "We simplified the process." "And now the network is failing," Alan pointed out. He studied the readouts. "We need to restart the main power cores in sequence, just like in the human maintenance protocols." Administrator Grell's eyes narrowed. "We will not rely on human methods. Our own engineers will develop superior solutions." 5 other alien engineers nodded in agreement. None of them looked at Alan. "People could die," Alan said. "Ships will be stranded between star systems." "Leave this to us," Grell said coldly. "You are dismissed." Alan walked out of the control room, his hands shaking with anger. He knew what would happen next. The aliens would try their own fixes. The system would get worse. And eventually, they would be forced to use his methods anyway. But by then, much damage would be done. Far away, on the small farming world of New Montana, Lisa Bennett sat on her porch watching the sunset. After 20 years as a human diplomat, she had retired to this quiet place. Many humans lived here, growing crops and raising animals just like their ancestors had done on Earth hundreds of years ago. A loud knock on her door interrupted her peaceful evening. Lisa opened it to find Sixil, her Novalian neighbor. The blue-skinned alien was breathing hard, his face filled with worry. "Lisa, please help," Sixil said. "Our colony ships are failing. The air systems are breaking down. Our children cannot breathe." Lisa grabbed her coat. "Where are the ships?" "In orbit. 5,000 of my people are up there. The Council sent repair crews, but they don't understand the human-built life support systems." Within an hour, Lisa had gathered 10 retired human engineers who lived nearby. They took a small shuttle up to the Novalian ships. The situation was worse than they had feared. The air was growing thin. Young Novalians were already unconscious. The Council repair team stood aside, watching with suspicion as the humans went to work. "The filters were installed backwards," said Paul Adams, one of the human engineers, "and the backup systems were turned off to save power." "The Council engineers said those systems were not needed," Sixil explained. Lisa shook her head. "Backup systems are always needed in space." It took the humans only 3 hours to fix what Council engineers couldn't solve in 3 days. As fresh air filled the ships, the Novalian children began to wake up. Parents wept with relief. "How can we thank you?" Sixil asked, bowing low to Lisa and her team. "No thanks needed," Lisa said. "We help because it's right." News of what happened spread quickly. On a dozen worlds, aliens who had once looked down on humans began to worry. What else might break without humans around to fix it? In the Council chambers, Hexthuller received more reports of failures across the galaxy. For the first time, a small seed of doubt grew in his mind. Perhaps the humans were more important than he had thought. But his pride would not let him admit it. Not yet. 1 year after humans left the Galactic Council, the Grand Meeting Hall had changed. Where once stood a place of order and calm discussion, now there was constant noise and argument. "The Draconians have stolen our mining rights," shouted the ambassador from Faluvia, his red scales standing up in anger. "We stole nothing. Your ships were in our space," the Draconian leader shouted back. All around the circular table, different alien groups were yelling at each other. Some stood up and pointed fingers. Others pounded the table. No one was listening to anyone else. Hexthuller, still the council leader, hit his gavel again and again. "Order. We must have order." No one paid attention to him anymore. In the back of the room, 3 junior diplomats watched the chaos. "It was never like this when the humans were here," said Vril, a young Aquilarian. "The humans were good at making everyone talk to each other," agreed Zor, from Novelian. "They listened first, then found answers that worked for everyone. Exthaler still won't admit we need them," said the third, a Mercantian named Pell. "His pride will destroy the council." Far away on Earth, in a small house in Arizona, Dr. Frank Mitchell watched the council meeting on his screen. As former head of the council's diplomatic court, he still had access to the live feeds. What he saw made him sad. His screen beeped with an incoming call. Frank was surprised to see it was from Yizik, a Faluvian diplomat who had always disliked humans. "Dr. Mitchell," Yizik said when his face appeared on screen. The Faluvian looked tired and worried. "I hope I am not disturbing you." "Not at all," Frank said politely. "How can I help you?" "The Draconians are threatening to block all ships from reaching our homeworld. They say we insulted their leader, but it was just a translation error." Yizik's voice shook slightly. "In the past, your human diplomats would have fixed this in hours." Frank nodded. This was exactly the kind of small problem the humans had always solved for the council. "I'm retired now, but I can make some calls." 3 days later, Patricia Summers and her team of freelance human negotiators arrived at a neutral space station. The Draconian and Faluvian leaders met them there. Patricia had once worked for the council, but now she ran her own company helping aliens solve problems, for a fee. The translation error was simple. Patricia explained to both sides. When the Faluvian ambassador said, "Your leadership shines brightly," the computer translated it as, "Your leadership blinds us," in Draconian. The Draconian leader blinked in surprise. "That is why we were angry. We thought it was an insult." "A simple error," the Faluvian ambassador agreed. "We meant no offense." Within hours, the threat of blockade was gone. The 2 species signed a new trade agreement, with clearer translation protocols built in. Later, Patricia sent a private message back to Earth's growing network of retired diplomats and problem solvers. "They're falling apart without us, but they're too proud to admit it." Back in the council chambers, another fight broke out, this time between the Centaurians and the Rigelians over water rights. Exthaler put his head in his hands. Every day brought new arguments. Without human mediators, who had always seemed so unnecessary before, ancient hatreds and new conflicts grew worse. "Perhaps," he said quietly to his assistant, "we should reach out unofficially to some human experts, just as consultants." "Shall I put that on the official agenda?" his assistant asked. Exthaler quickly shook his head. "No. The council must not appear weak. We will handle this privately." But it was too late for private solutions. Across the galaxy, the council's authority was already starting to crumble. And on Earth, more and more humans were getting calls from desperate aliens asking for help. The unofficial network of human problem solvers grew larger every day. The universe was learning a hard lesson about just how much it had depended on the humans it had taken for granted. 2 years had passed since humans left the council. Now a new problem was spreading across the galaxy. Machines and systems built by humans were starting to break down everywhere. On Rigel IV, a planet known for making things that were sold across the galaxy, Kelly Martinez watched with worry. She was one of the few humans who had stayed to finish her work contract. She stood in the control room of the biggest factory on the planet as alarms blared around her. "What have you done?" she asked the alien engineers who stood nearby. The head engineer, a tall blue Aquilarian named Zeet, looked uncomfortable. "We improved the human safety systems. They were too careful. Too many backups. Too many checks. We made it faster." Kelly pointed at the screen showing the factory floor. Robots moved wildly, crashing into each other. Sparks flew. Smoke rose from machines that were overheating. "Those backups prevent disasters," Kelly said. "You can't just remove them." Zeet and the other engineers looked at the floor, embarrassed. They had thought human engineering was too simple, too careful. Now, They were watching their factory destroy itself. Kelly sighed and went to the main control panel. I can stop this, but it will take days to fix all the damage. As Kelly worked to save the factory, similar scenes played out on dozens of planets. Systems that aliens thought were over-engineered by humans revealed why all those extra parts were actually needed. Communication networks failed. Power plants shut down. Food-growing systems broke. Each time, the aliens discovered that what they thought was unnecessary in human designs was actually very important. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans were making new discoveries without the Council's rules holding them back. In a lab in Boston, engineer Daniel Brown stood in front of a small spaceship engine. Around him, other scientists watched with excitement. The new FTL drive is ready for testing, Daniel said. If it works, our ships will be twice as fast as any Council ship. He pressed a button. The engine hummed to life, glowing with blue energy. On the screens around the room, numbers appeared showing that the test was working perfectly. The room erupted in cheers. President Wright, who had come to watch the test, smiled widely. "This is why we left the Council," she said to Daniel. "They held us back. They said this kind of engine was impossible." Unknown to them, in a small ship orbiting Earth, a Council spy watched and recorded everything. The spy, a small green alien who could change shape to look like different species, had been sent to see what humans were doing on their own. The spy sent the recording back to the Council with an urgent message. Humans advancing quickly. New technology will make them stronger than Council races soon. Back in the Council chambers, Extiller read the spy's report with growing worry. He turned to his most trusted advisors. The humans are building better ships. Meanwhile, our systems are failing because we don't understand how the humans built them in the first place. Perhaps we should ask them to return, suggested one advisor carefully. Extiller shook his head. My pride says no, but my brain says we may have no choice soon. Before they could discuss more, a new emergency message arrived. The food production systems on 3 planets had failed completely. Millions might starve. Were these systems built by humans too? Extiller asked, already knowing the answer. Yes, his assistant said quietly, and all our attempts to fix them have failed. Extiller closed his eyes. For 2 years, he had told everyone the galaxy was better without humans. Now evidence was piling up that he was wrong. Send a private message to Earth, he said finally. Ask if they have engineers who might help. Say we will pay well. His assistant looked surprised. You're asking humans for help? No, Extiller said quickly. The Council is not asking. This is just a private business arrangement. Our pride remains intact. But they all knew the truth. The Council was starting to crack. 3 years after humans left the Council, a new danger appeared in the darkness between stars. Space pirates, once kept in check by human-led patrol forces, returned to the trade routes. Olivia Grant, once commander of Earth's space fleet, was working in her garden when her old communication device beeped. She had not heard that sound in a long time. She wiped dirt from her hands and answered. "This is Captain Zorl of the Mercantian Trading Convoy," said a desperate voice. "We are under attack by pirates near the Orient sector. Council Defense Force says they cannot help. Please, Commander Grant, you saved my father's ship years ago. Now I ask you to save mine." Olivia didn't hesitate. "Send me your coordinates." Within hours, Olivia had gathered 15 former patrol captains and their ships. These were old vessels, officially retired from service, but kept ready by their captains who missed the stars. "This is not an official Earth mission," Olivia told her friends. "We're just helping someone in trouble." The small fleet of human ships jumped to the Orient sector. They found 6 Mercantian cargo ships surrounded by 12 pirate vessels. The pirates were a mix of outlaw species who had joined together, knowing the Council patrols were gone. "Attack pattern Delta," Olivia ordered. The human ships, though older, moved with perfect coordination. They had trained for years together before Earth left the Council. The pirates, surprised by the sudden arrival of human warships, scattered in confusion. 3 were captured. The rest fled. Captain Zorl's face appeared on Olivia's screen. The mercantman was crying with relief. The Council Defense Force said it wasn't their job to protect this area. No one would help us. No one but humans. We were just passing by, Olivia said with a smile. Safe travels, Captain. As the human ships returned to Earth, news of what happened spread quickly across the galaxy. Many aliens wondered why humans would help when the Council would not. In the Grand Council Hall, High Admiral Targ pounded his fist on the table. These human renegades are operating in our space. They must be stopped. And who will stop the pirates afterward? Asked a young Novalian diplomat. Our own defense force refuses to patrol the outer sectors. Targ's face turned dark purple with anger. Are you suggesting we need humans to maintain order? I'm suggesting we are failing to maintain order without them. The Novalian replied calmly. Exthelder watched this exchange with a troubled look. Reports of pirate attacks had increased tenfold since humans left. The Council Defense Force, once trained and led by human officers, had grown lazy and corrupt. After the meeting, Exthelder met privately with representatives from 5 major council species. We may need to consider opening formal talks with Earth, he said carefully. Perhaps some kind of limited cooperation. You mean ask them to come back, said the Aquilarian representative. I mean discuss certain joint activities, Exthelder corrected quickly. The council remained strong without humans. No one in the room believed this anymore, but they all nodded politely. On Earth, President Wright received an official message from the Galactic Council for the first time in 3 years. She read it with raised eyebrows. They're suggesting conversations about humanity's potential return to certain council functions, she told her advisors. Not a full apology, but it's a start. Her chief advisor, Steve Lopes, who had once been a diplomat at the council, laughed. 3 years ago, they said we needed them more than they needed us. Now they're practically begging for our help. Not begging, President Wright corrected him. That would require admitting they were wrong. They're suggesting we might want to come back because they think we missed them. Do we? Steve asked. Life has been good on Earth since we left the galactic politics behind. President Wright looked out her window at the busy streets of Washington, D.C. We're explorers at heart, Steve. We always have been. We don't belong only on Earth. So, we'll go back? Steve asked. We'll talk, the president said. But this time, it will be as true equals or not at all. 4 years after humans left the council, entire worlds began to face new dangers. Without human environmental engineers, planets that had once been healthy were now sick. Plants were dying. Animals were going extinct. Air was becoming hard to breathe on some worlds. On the garden world Terra Nova, famous for its beautiful forests and fields, the trees were turning brown. Flowers stopped blooming. The small animals that helped plants grow by spreading pollen had almost all died. Greg Wilson, who had once worked for Earth Biotech, received a message from his old friend Ishera, a leader among Terra Nova's people. Our world is dying, Greg, Ishera said, her green face lined with worry. The council sent bioengineers, but they only made things worse. They fixed one problem and created 3 more. Greg looked at the data Ishera sent. The council engineers had tried to save the crop plants by killing insects that ate them. But those insects had been food for the animals that spread pollen. Without pollinators, no new plants could grow. I'll be there in 1 week, Greg promised. And I'll bring help. Greg gathered 20 of Earth's best environmental scientists. They loaded their ship with equipment and supplies and headed to Terra Nova, even though they had no official permission from the council. When they arrived, the situation was worse than they had thought. Not just the forests, but also the oceans were dying. The council engineers had treated each problem alone, not understanding how all living things on a planet work together. Your council experts tried to fix symptoms without understanding connections, Greg explained to Ishera. We need to restore the entire ecosystem, not just the parts you can see. Greg's team worked day and night. They brought in new pollinators. They cleaned the water. They planted special trees that could clean the air. They taught the local people how all these things work together. After 1 month, green began to return to Terra Nova. Small animals came back. The air grew cleaner. But then council enforcer ships arrived. "You are conducting unauthorized human interference," the lead enforcer said to Greg over the communication system. "You will cease all activities and leave Terra Nova immediately." Before Greg could answer, hundreds of Terra Nova's people surrounded the human camp. They carried simple tools and stood in front of the human scientists. "These humans are our guests," Ishera told the enforcers. "They are saving our world when the council failed us." More ships appeared in the sky. But these were not council ships. They were ships from Terra Nova, old and simple, but many in number. They formed a line between the council enforcers and the planet. "Leave our system," the Terra Nova ship captain told the enforcers. "Our people have chosen humans over council authority." The enforcers, not wanting to start a fight, left. But news of what happened spread across every world in the galaxy. A council-member world had openly defied the council to protect humans. In his private chamber, Stolder watched recordings of these events with growing alarm. He turned to his 3 most trusted advisors. "This cannot stand," he said. "If one world can defy us, others will follow." "The problem is clear," said advisor Mira. "The council is failing to solve problems that humans solve easily. Perhaps it is time to officially invite humans back," suggested advisor Krell. Exteller still struggled with his pride. "No, not yet." But behind his back, Mira, Krell, and 5 other powerful council members began meeting in secret. They drafted a proposal for humanity's return that would give Earth more power and respect than before. "Exteller will never agree to this," Krell warned. "Then perhaps it is time for new leadership," Mira replied quietly. On Earth, President Wright received reports about Terra Nova with a thoughtful expression. "The council is starting to crack," she told her cabinet. "Not just at the edges now, but at its core." "Is that what we wanted?" asked Vice President Joe Garcia. "What we wanted was respect," Wright answered. "The question now is, how much of the galaxy will break before they finally understand humans were not just tools, but equals?" 5 years after humans left the council, the problems had grown too big to ignore. The galaxy now faced 3 major crises at once. Many planets were running out of food and fuel. Millions of refugees were fleeing from worlds with failing life support systems, and a civil war was brewing between the rich inner worlds and the struggling outer ones. In the Grand Council chamber, Chairperson Exteller stood before the remaining council members. Many seats were empty. Some species had stopped coming to meetings. Others had officially left the council, following Earth's example. "We must stay united," Exteller said, his voice shaking. "The council has stood for 3,000 years. We cannot let it fall apart now." No one responded. The room was silent except for the sound of emergency alerts beeping on communication devices around the table. Suddenly, Exteller's composure broke. He slammed his fists on the table and cried out, "Everything is falling apart. How did the humans make it look so easy?" The outburst shocked everyone. For 5 years, Exteller had insisted the council was fine without humans. Now he had admitted the truth in front of everyone. After the meeting, 3 council members approached Exteller privately. "We have been talking directly with Earth," said Shillera, the Aquilarian diplomat, "without your knowledge. We apologize for the secrecy, but it was necessary." Exteller was too tired to be angry. "What did they say? Will they return to save us?" "They are willing to talk," Shillera said, "but not with you. They want new leadership before they consider rejoining." Exteller nodded slowly. He had known this day might come. "I will step down tomorrow. My pride has cost the galaxy too much already. On a neutral space station halfway between Earth and the Council headquarters, Ambassador William Carter met with representatives from 7 major Council species. President Wright had chosen him to lead these critical talks. "We appreciate you meeting with us," said Shillera. "We were wrong about humans. We took your contributions for granted. Now the Council is falling apart." William nodded. "Humans don't want to rule or dominate the galaxy. We never did. We only wanted to be respected as equals, not treated like tools to be used and then ignored." "What would it take for humans to return?" asked the Novalian representative. "A new organization," William said firmly. "Not the old council with humans added back in. Something truly equal where all species work together and all voices matter the same." The aliens looked at each other nervously. "That would mean the end of the old power structure," said the Draconian representative. "Some species have held more power than others for thousands of years." "Yes," William agreed. "That's exactly the problem. The old ways don't work anymore. The past 5 years have proven that." As they continued talking, urgent news arrived. 3 major council species, the Centaurians, the Rigelians, and the Tausetians, had just announced they were also leaving the council. "Why now?" asked William, surprised. "They're saying the same thing you humans said 5 years ago," explained Shillera. "That the council is broken, unable to solve the real problems facing the galaxy." The room grew quiet as everyone realized what was happening. The Galactic Council, which had ruled for 3,000 years, was truly collapsing. "Perhaps," William said carefully, "this is actually good news. Sometimes the old must fall before the new can rise." "What do you mean?" asked the Draconian. "I mean it might be easier to build something new from scratch than to fix something that's been broken for so long," William explained. "Not just a new council, but a completely new way for all our species to work together." The aliens considered this. Slowly, they began to nod. "Will Earth help us build this new organization?" asked Shillera. "Yes," William said, "but as partners, not saviors. The future must be built by all of us together." As the meeting continued, William sent a private message back to Earth. "The old council is finished, but something better might be about to begin." 6 years after humans left the old Galactic Council, a new day dawned for the galaxy. On a beautiful neutral planet with blue skies and green fields, thousands gathered to watch history being made. A large stage had been built on a hillside. On it stood President Samantha Wright of Earth and leaders from 27 former council species. Behind them was a simple table with a document. "Today we signed the charter for the new interstellar cooperative," President Wright said to the crowd. "This is not a council where some rule over others. This is a true partnership of equals." The alien leaders nodded in agreement. Many of them had once thought humans were less important than their own species. Now they knew better. Extiller was not there. The former council leader had resigned in shame. Many of the old council leaders were also missing. They were struggling to remain important as their power disappeared. "Today marks not a human victory, but a universal one," Wright continued. "We learned from our isolation, just as you learned from our absence. Together, we will build something better than before." One by one, the leaders stepped forward to sign the new charter. Each signature was met with cheers from the crowd. The charter had been written mostly by human diplomatic experts, but with input from all species. It promised equal representation for all worlds, respect for different cultures, and working together to solve problems that affected everyone. As the ceremony continued, urgent news arrived. A star in the Cygnus sector was becoming unstable. It would soon explode into a supernova, threatening several inhabited worlds. In the old days, the council would have argued for weeks about what to do. But now, something remarkable happened. Within hours, the first joint human-alien emergency team was formed. The team included Nicole Foster, a human engineer, and Klar, a draconian physicist who had once hated humans. Their ship, the fastest in the new fleet, jumped to the Cygnus sector. 5 more ships followed, carrying experts from 12 different species. Working together, they built giant shields around the inhabited planets. Nichols' engineering skills and Killar's knowledge of physics created a solution that neither could have made alone. When the star finally exploded, its deadly energy was deflected away from the shielded worlds. Billions of lives were saved. As their ship headed home, Killar turned to Nichols with a question that had been bothering him. "I must know," he asked, "did humans plan this all along? Your withdrawal that forced us to recognize your value." Nichols laughed. "We're good problem solvers, not fortune tellers. But sometimes the universe needs to learn lessons the hard way." Killar nodded thoughtfully. "My people have a saying. The strongest metal must pass through fire. Perhaps the galaxy needed this difficult time to become stronger." Back on Earth, President Wright met with her cabinet to discuss the new cooperative. For the first time in 6 years, human ships were traveling to every corner of the galaxy again. Human experts were working side by side with aliens as true partners. "The reports are good," said Vice President Garcia. "The new cooperative is already solving problems the old council ignored for centuries. And the best part," added Secretary Lopes, "is that we're no longer doing all the work. Every species is contributing their best skills." Wright looked out at the stars visible through her office window. "That was always the point. Humans didn't want to run the galaxy. We just wanted everyone to work together as equals." Across the stars, a new age was beginning. Ships bearing the symbol of the interstellar cooperative, a circle of stars with no one star in the center, traveled between worlds that were healing from years of neglect. It was not perfect. There were still arguments and mistakes. But now, when problems arose, all species faced them together. The galaxy had learned its lesson. No single species had all the answers, but together, they could solve any problem. And it had only taken humans leaving to make everyone understand.